We have a strange habit when it comes to human systems. We often assume that the person making the most noise is the one who should be in charge. We confuse charisma, constant talking, and sheer volume with actual leadership capability. Consider a kingdom hidden deep within a mountain range. It had two heirs, and they perfectly embodied this bias. Princess Teresa had a booming voice that echoed through every corridor of the castle. Her sister, Princess Hannah, was entirely mute. The royal court reached a predictable consensus. Because Teresa took up so much auditory space, everyone assumed she was the natural successor to the throne. Hannah, on the other hand, was written off. Because she didn't speak, the court decided she was weak and incapable of governance. This assumption created a massive blind spot. Teresa spent so much energy broadcasting her own thoughts that she never actually listened to her surroundings. Hannah's silence gave her a distinct advantage. She began to pick up on faint, unseen distress signals echoing from the very foundations of the kingdom. When an entire system elevates the people who broadcast over the people who observe, it eventually becomes deaf. It stops hearing the quiet anomalies and subtle warnings that signal its own impending collapse. Realizing that the noisy palace bureaucracy would never investigate these warnings, Hannah left the castle walls. She ventured deep into the surrounding forest to uncover the truth herself, eventually finding the mythical root keeper. The root keeper provided a set of diagnostic tools. Hannah received a lantern designed to expose hidden realities, along with 3 color-coded leaves, each calibrated to react to a specific type of institutional corruption. This diagram outlines the root keeper's magic. Institutional failure is rarely an accident. It is driven by 3 behaviors: pride, greed, and fear. These traits operate as a systemic rot, hollowing out an organization from the inside while leaving the exterior untouched. To save a failing state, you have to stop paying attention to the surface-level noise. You have to force that underlying quiet corruption directly into the light. Hannah brought her tools back to the royal council chamber. When she produced the red leaf, it instantly reacted to Sir Lancelot. Under the lantern's light, his diplomatic missions were exposed as a cover. He was actually engaging in ego-driven warmongering, draining the state treasury simply to feed his own pride. Next, she tracked the scent of an elaborate feast to an abandoned theater. The green leaf reacted, exposing widespread greed among the royal cooks. They were actively siphoning off the basic food rations meant for the common people to throw lavish banquets for the elites, collapsing the physical barrier between the haves and the have-nots. The final audit was the most dangerous, targeting the absolute top of the hierarchy. Hannah returned to the council room to expose the rot of fear. The queen severely disliked criticism. By punishing any dissenting opinions, she built a massive echo chamber. Her advisors were so afraid of losing their jobs that they actively suppressed hard truths and covered up mistakes, entirely paralyzing the government's ability to function. A kingdom rarely falls because of an outside invader. It falls because leaders create an environment where telling the truth becomes a punishable offense. With the corrupt council members exposed and the internal rot purged, the kingdom stabilized. The natural expectation was that Hannah, the quiet observer who saved the state, would take the throne and replace the noisy regime. Hannah refused the crown. She handed it to her highly vocal sister, Teresa, making a calculated, strategic decision to split the duties of leadership. This diagram shows us a dynamic model of power. Silence, on its own, lacks the ability to execute and command. Voice, on its own, lacks direction and empathy. They must merge into a single model to be effective. The two sisters began to rule together. Teresa stepped up as the capable, commanding voice of the kingdom, but her decrees were now guided entirely by Hannah's silent, observational strategy. True power does not belong to the loudest person in the room, nor does it belong to the quietest. It belongs to the leader who manages the delicate balance between speaking their vision and actually listening to their reality.